In this episode, we meet Roy's dad, Heinrich Anton Friedrich Giesemann. Most people knew him as Harry. What did Roy call him? You'll find out in just a moment.
Welcome to Young Roy, a show which explores the adventures and misadventures of Roy Giesemann and the people, places and events that have influenced his life.
Welcome to episode number 3, and on the line I have the man himself. It's young Roy. Hello Roy, how are you?
Oh, fine, thank you, Peter. Not so young, but fine, okay.
What, just like the weather there in Melbourne?
It's a beautiful day today, Peter.
Oh, there you go. And It's Grand Final Eve, which is a very exciting time in Melbourne.
Oh, everyone in Melbourne, or 99% of them, will be barracking for the Bulldogs, Pete.
Western Bulldogs, their first grand final in, 61 years or something?
Oh, yeah, many decades, yeah. It's just, the club is just so family-oriented and that it's just, everyone would love to see them win, except, of course, you don't blame the South Melbourne supporters.
Yeah, who are now Sydney Swans supporters.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. We'll be able to report back in our next episode. So we're both barracking for the Western Bulldogs, correct?
Oh, you are too. Good on you, Pete.
Yep. No worries. Now, in today's episode, there's a couple of things we're going to talk about, and one in particular that I'm really looking forward to is talking about your dad. He was born Heinrich, commonly referred to as Harry, but you knew him as...
Pop.
Yeah. Now, it's amazing actually that you grew up calling him Pop, and at age 17 my son Simon started calling me, all out of the blue, just started calling me Pop.
And does he still do that, Pete?
Till this day, yep.
Wow.
So he's now 41, so he's had 24 years of calling me Pop, and there you go.
No, I can recall even the picnic at Lake Moogra, Pete, popping out of his mouth. Yeah.
So that's something nice that's carried down the generations. It must be genetic, because he didn't do it because he knew that you called your dad Pop.
No, that's amazing, Pete.
Yeah. Now, your Pop, Harry, was born on the 9th of March, 1870. Just tell us what's particular about the 9th of March, Dad.
Oh, my darling Mari, Peter, same date.
Yep.
Born on the 9th of March, 1936, yeah.
Yep, my mum, your wife, Mari, 9th of March, so that's an amazing coincidence there.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
So, now he was born in 1870, and you were born in 1930. That's a 60-year gap.
That's it, Pete, yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Mm.
Now, did you ever think you were the son of an old father, or not?
Not really, Pete, although I've got to admit, I spent a lot of my youth with Gordon and Eric. So in a fatherly way, I guess,
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah. But your dad would have been, because he was a builder, correct?
Mm.
Yeah, and doing manual work, he would have been quite fit and strong, so that would have kept him young, you would think.
His weight would never have changed, Peter, in all his life, and he lived until just a couple of months before his 91st birthday.
Mm.
And his weight would never have changed. And even when, after the accident which he had, he still did with ropes on the end of the bed and a sort of a broomstick handle. He'd do pull-ups on it, to keep fit.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll get back to that a bit later. But now, so if you were born when he was 60, obviously not too many mothers have a child at the age of 60, so how old was your mum?
Well, Mum was born in 1886, Pete, so she would have been 14, 30, 44.
Right, when you were born?
Yeah, 44 years old. And in those days, that was really old, I believe, anyway, for mothers to have babies, So I'm so lucky to be number 9 off the rank, Pete.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
No, well, nowadays you don't look at having a baby if you're over 42 or so because of the risk. So,
Mm.
yeah. Now, what age was your mum and dad when they got married?
Dad was 38 and Mum was 22. They got married in the Methodist Church in Ipswich
Okay. Yep.
because Mum came from Mudapilly, a town, just out between Ipswich and Cunningham's Gap.
Mm. Now, it seems to be common back then. People are christened with one name, but they're called another. So just fill us in. What was your mother's real name and what was she called?
Well, Mum was Caroline Ethel, but I never ever heard anyone call her either of those. It was always either, well, naturally from her family, Mum, but from relatives, Auntie Daisy, and from friends, Daisy.
Okay.
So how you get Daisy out of Caroline Ethel, I should have explored that one, but didn't. Yeah.
Mm. And her surname?
It was Solway.
Yep. Yep.
But so see, the reason why I've got I did have at one time 94 first cousins, which is a pretty big number, isn't it? But if you think of it, both Dad and Mum came from a family of 13, Peter.
13 in each family?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dad had 7 sisters and 5 brothers, and Mum had 8 sisters and 4 brothers. So you can picture why the 94 first cousins comes into it, can't you?
Crikey. Yep, that's a big family, or a couple of big families. Yeah, so let's explore a bit about your dad and his personality. So what sort of man was he? What was his style of personality? Was he outgoing? Was he shy? What was his personality?
Oh, Pete, you'd have to say relatively shy, I guess, but certainly an elegant, graceful-looking man. No, I don't believe I never heard him swear once in his life. Even when he'd missed the nail and hit his own nail, which didn't happen too often, by the way.
With the hammer.
Yeah,
because he would have nailed in a few nails in his time, I dare say.
Brilliant to watch him, Pete. Honestly, brilliant.
And of course, that hardly exists nowadays. They use nail guns. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
If you think of all the homes he built throughout southern Queensland, how many nails? Oh, it'll be in the millions and millions, Peter.
Yeah. Okay, so now your relationship with your dad. So how old is he? He's 60. He's 60 years older than you. But you had a very close relationship, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Just, among other things, they spoilt me because I was the last, I guess, and not that they didn't spoil the others either, but I got really spoiled. And at age 18 or 17 or 18, Dad bought a 680 twin overhead camshaft, jet black Wolseley with beautiful chrome bumper bars and grille. And at that time, every police station in the United Kingdom used that car for their vehicle. So can you picture how friends? I had a lot of friends, Peter.
Yes.
Q515044 was the number, and but that's just one of many things. And I used to meet Dad and Henry at the Pineapple Hotel probably at least 4 nights a week, just for 2 or 3 drinks. Dad would have half rum and peppermint, and Henry and I would have just small glasses of beer. Okay. And then of a Saturday, we'd always go to a different hotel than the Pineapple every Saturday morning, without fail.
For a drink?
Yeah.
On a Saturday morning before 12 o'clock?
Before I'd go to tennis, yeah. And we're in this hotel in Anley Road, Peter, one day. I can't give you the name of it, unfortunately, but the ceiling fell in. Oh, we were lucky, yeah. Some people got hurt, but I was frightening. We never went back there. we changed Saturday morning hotels after that.
Yes, don't blame you. Wow. Now, you've got a real affection for cards, and I think you shared or probably got that from your pop.
Oh, he
So,
loved cards, Peter. He would play patience every day of the week, and I guess that's something I would do at least 6 days a week anyway, either on the computer or with a deck of cards. And he used to love his patience, and then his other games were, as you may appreciate, were euchre, 500, and latter in life, bridge. And he loved all three games, plus of course the patience. But in relation to bridge, Walter used to come every Wednesday night after work from Murray Bacon Factory and bring us some lovely ham and cheeses and that. And the four of us, Mum, Dad, Walter and myself, would play bridge. And that went on for years and years and years. And it was a lovely custom to have.
hmm. Now you've got quite a nous when it comes to playing cards. You're a real good thinker about cards. So was your dad the same?
Oh, I'd say so, Pete. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pete, if you if you were slow and when it was your turn to do something and you were a little bit tardy, he'd tap with his fingernails on the table.
The rolling fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting that message across that he was waiting for something and it was probably your move.
Yeah. Anyway, no, it was just lovely, Pete.
Hmm. Any other memories? Well, let's talk about him as a builder. So he obviously got into that fairly early. I think he was one of three brothers that were builders. Is that right?
Yeah, Pete. And Uncle Ernie was the main one who he built so many homes in Laidley with. And then later on in life, I think Charlie Hanson's one of his nephews. He did a lot of building work with, but I guess in relation to his building, Pete, there's one home I just like to really comment on. It's so important for so many reasons, and it's just that in 1903, Dad, living in Laidley, bought a block of land at 268 Patrick Street. That's the main street of Laidley.
Yep.
So that's 1903. And in 1908, he married Caroline Ethel Solway. And I wonder what I'm sure he called her Daisy too, Pete.
Hmm.
Or maybe Mum. Maybe Mum, yeah. Later on in life, anyway, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But soon after, at that time of getting married, he built the home at 268 Patrick Street, Laidley. You know, one of those typical homes which you've seen in Laidley, Peter, that he's built.
Yep. Yep.
And here's the amazing thing, two amazing things. 7 of my siblings were born there. 7.
Wow.
The first 7 were all born either in the hospital, but while Mum and Dad were living at 268 Patrick Street, Laidley. And later on, this home was sold to Katrina. You know, our relative, our lovely, lovely relative Katrina?
Yep.
Sold to her grandfather. And he shifted the home to Forest Hill. And it's still there today. He shifted it with a bullock wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still there today and looks like a palace, Peter. But it's just ironical, isn't it, that Katrina has meant so much to us in our life at this time, and it was her grandfather and he's not a blood relative, by the way. He's only a relative because of marrying a cousin, one of the 94 first cousins of mine.
Mm.
And because of their age, I can always remember I'd never refer to him by his first name, despite being a first cousin by marriage. I always referred to him as Uncle.
Okay.
And of course his wife, Kate, Auntie Kate. And it's just respect anyway with youth at that time, Pete. Anyway.
Mm, mm.
Um,
So now your dad built a number of houses all around southeast Queensland in the end, didn't he? So just name a couple of the ones that we remember fondly, Dad.
well, I guess the one at Buderim would be at 128 Burnett, Pete, Burnett
Yeah.
Street, in the main street. I'd say it's the second highest point of Buderim Mountain, and overlooking, from Maroochydore to Caloundra and the Blue Pacific, and you could see ships, large ships out at sea, and that.
So that's the main street of Buderim, and you had a peanut farm there?
It was mainly peanuts, I guess, but potatoes, tomatoes, strawberries were big too, Pete. We grew lots of strawberries.
Okay.
And had about 17 acres, I guess, opposite where the old ginger factory used to be. But our home was up on the hill, and as I say, with a magnificent, unimpeded view of the Pacific Ocean. And that home was shifted, and with a lot of detective work by one Peter Giesemann, we found out where it went to.
Yeah, because it was MIA for a number of years, missing in action. We knew it got moved, but we had no idea where it got moved to. So I had the idea to put I got in touch with the editor at the one of the local newspapers up at the hinterland, and they put an article in there saying, does anyone recognise this house? Because I had a picture of the house with me standing on the steps. And 3 people replied to that saying they all had our house, but one of those was correct, and we ended up finding the house at a place called Witter up near Maleny, and found out that it got transported up the mountain in
2 pieces, Pete.
Yeah, well, and one piece of the 2 pieces fell off on the way, the landing or something.
It hit a tree, yeah.
Yeah, and so it went down the side of the mountain, but the rest made it up, and we ended up meeting a beautiful couple who owned the home, and they said, this house is yours, come, you're welcome anytime you like. So that was great, Kathleen and Alan. Yeah.
Pete Allen even said to me once, he said, Roy, no need to check if we were away, no need to worry, because the key will be there for you. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that, can you?
No, that's great, eh? Yes, they were very welcoming, and it was great to see the home again.
Oh, a palace, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah. Now, speak of seeing homes again, there's another coincidence back in Laidley. What was the address of the home that we visited?
Oh, 9 Campbell Street, is it?
Yeah, yeah. So now just tell the story then about the couple in there and their business in Laidley and what building that's in.
Yeah, well, when we had a birthday celebration for one of the 5 surviving first cousins, and a Giesemann reunion in March this year. April it was, Pete, wasn't it?
Yep.
And we needed to have 2 restaurants in the Giesemann building, and that was great in itself, just to be going to the Giesemann building in Patrick Street, Laidley. And we overfilled the Rustic Rose restaurant, and half filled up the restaurant close by, also in the Giesemann building. But the people who run the Rustic Rose, Andrew and Rachel, a lovely, lovely young couple. And 3 years ago, they bought the Campbell Street home, and that's where they live. And Peter, wasn't it beautiful to see the condition of it and the absolute delight of Andrew and Rachel in making everything so beautiful, and got plans to even improve upon it now. It's
Yeah, well, it's amazing that the Rustic Rose Cafe was in the Giesemann building. So that was built by your father's father, is that correct?
It was built by my dad, Pete.
By your dad, okay.
Yep.
And what's the year on the front of the building?
1906, I think, Pete.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And, yeah, so they are working in a building built by your dad, and they're living in a building, in a home built by your dad.
Yeah, and Pete, what about the welcome? The welcome they gave us.
Oh, fantastic. And
Oh,
Andrew had done so much research himself into the background of the home, and he knew a lot about your dad and
yeah.
and other buildings he'd built. So yeah, it was fantastic to meet both him and Rachel.
We'll certainly see them again, Peter.
We will, yeah. No, so that was great. So now we might just skip forward a few years then. So now there's a tragic time in your dad's life, and that was he had a fall. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. See, Peter, as you appreciate, he wanted all of his sons to have farms, you know, and once Eric and Gordon both got married, Gordon stayed at North Maclean, and Eric worked in the city of Brisbane for a while, but then he bought him a farm at Samford. And all of these farms, whether it be Belli, Samford, Buderim or North Maclean, Dad would spend every day doing something on the farm, whether it be fencing or in the building area. He would always be busy. Just as an aside, two things he never ever did do, Peter. He was smart in one way. He never ever milked a cow.
Never.
Not one time.
Gee, because he had the family. That's why he had a big family.
Yeah. Oh, and dear Mum used to milk night and morning, Pete. But no, Dad. But he made up for it in other areas. And the other thing is he rarely, if ever, drove a motor car. You know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, he worked and because that place at Samford, especially the cow bales and barn, needed a lot of work done on it. And he's up there doing the work, and he was up high on a ladder. Something happened. He would have fallen and hardly been hurt at all, but he fell onto a piece of 4x2, Peter.
No.
Onto his hip. And
so was that 4x2 in the air or something? So
no, it was on the ground, Pete.
It was on the ground, yeah.
And that's where he landed, on his hip. And I was terrible, Peter. And
so,
of course, he was laid up for the rest of his next, 6, 7 odd years, yeah.
Okay, so he's 83 or something at this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? So he's up there
and
building at heights.
That's the other thing. There was no one else there at the time. Eric and Joy were evidently in town or somewhere, and he was by himself for a while anyway, but not for too long, I don't think.
Wow. Yeah.
He got hit.
Go on, Dad.
He got hit by a tram once, Pete.
Who came off the worst?
Near Clarence Corner. And all he got out of it was a black eye. How about that?
How did the tram fare?
Yeah. And here's what a lovely man he was, Pete. Because he used to do the shopping for Mum all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the bag of stuff that he had for Mum, it wasn't a big one, but he never let it go. He kept on to it, despite being hit by a tram.
Oh, okay.
he never let this thing go. But all he got was, I can still remember visiting him in the I think it was the Mater Hospital, and he had a beautiful black eye. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he came off okay then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he beat the tram. Yeah.
Yeah. So the rest of his days, then, he was essentially laid up after this accident. Is that right?
Yeah, Pete. And after your darling grandmother and my darling mother passed away, Henry looked after him, and later on, Nora and Ian also, and Walter also helped a lot.
Okay, so he outlived Daisy.
Yeah, Pete.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, despite the, 22,
22 years.
16 years difference
Yeah,
in
16.
age, yeah. And, but the one good thing coming out of that is uh, Kate Gillett, his younger sister, uh, and she was the wife of Jim Gillett, a horse trainer at Deagon, at 4 Adam Street, Deagon.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, among other people, Uncle Jim knew Woodcock, the strapper for Far Lap.
Yep.
And he was a lovely man, especially with my interest in horses and that. It was great, but darling Auntie Kate used to visit Dad every week, Peter, from Deagon, and she wasn't young, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And used to get, I guess, buses and trains and everything up and visit Dad at Kangaroo Point every week, Auntie Kate.
Mm.
Auntie Kate Gillett, and she was a lovely, lovely, lovely lady.
So he died in 1961. Now, where were you when all this happened?
Oh, yeah. See, we were in Papua New Guinea for 6 years, Pete. And by the way, do you remember Papua New Guinea?
I do remember quite a bit about Papua New Guinea. Yeah, I've written pages of information of things I remember, so it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Good on you.
Mm.
On
So
you
yeah, I was 5 or 6 when Grandpop died then. So I never really knew him. And,
he nursed you, Pete. I can still see him nursing you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. So just tell of the circumstances in your life then at that time.
At that time, yeah. Well, I was up at they used to be called unevangelized field mission station at Wasua, way up near the head of the Fly River, and used to sleep in a thatched. Used to climb a wooden ladder to sleep in the attic with a thatched roof. I was up there commissioning some aircraft refueling equipment, and the news came through. This a telegram came, and I think I've still got the telegram. I'm sure I've still got it in one of my old wallets, Pete. In those days, to get a telegram was not a happy sight unless it was from the Golden Casket or the lottery people. And you just knew it wasn't. 19 times out of 20 probably you knew it wasn't a good story, you know. And this was to tell me my darling Dad had passed away.
And you couldn't be in a more remote part of the world.
Oh no, but the mission station manager. He took me by boat down the river. Couldn't get a plane at that time, a small plane to take me out. So he took me all the way down to Daru, which was good of him anyway. And got to Daru, and there was only a plane every 3 days or something, 2 or 3 days to Moresby.
Okay.
And got there, and the people who run the aircraft, I forget the name of the company, but it was an amphibious plane. It could both land on both sea and land. And they said it'd be here in half an hour, and one of the local native boys said he'd row me out to it because the boat that had the mail on, it was both a mail and passenger plane. It was already offshore waiting for it to land. So this native kindly offered to row me out, but that day there was no passengers or anything. It was just an exchange of mail bags. So the Beaver lands, and Badger was the pilot, very handsome young man, Badger. He just threw the bag out to the small barge, motor barge this was, and loaded the mail from Daru, and immediately started to taxi. Within 1 or 2 minutes.
And you're wanting to get onto this plane?
Yeah. So I got the native boy to row in front of its path, Peter. How stupid can you be?
And what happened then?
He stopped. But he said, "Don't you ever do that again," he said. But he didn't know the circumstances, Pete.
No.
Because can you picture I'd have another 2 days? I wasn't going to get there for the funeral anyway, but I just wanted to be down in Brisbane with my family, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Other than you, Mari and you and the children. And he got me back to Moresby in about 3 or 4 hours later. And but he was a lovely young lad, and unfortunately, Peter, I do believe he unfortunately passed away in a plane crash between Port Moresby and Samurai about 2 or 3 years later.
I hope it wasn't because someone rowed a boat in front of him.
No, I hope so too.
Yeah.
It was so sad. He was a lovely, lovely person, and he used to drive in those days, cars were duty-free in Papua New Guinea, and every third person had a Mercedes, you know. And he had a blue sports Mercedes. Oh, boy, did it look magnificent.
So he was a good-looking guy and a pilot and
yeah.
a Mercedes, so he attracted good friends too, did he? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when you went down to Brisbane, was it you, Mum, and the kids, or we were all down there, or just you?
No, just myself, Peter.
Yeah, yeah. Going to be quite a logistical exercise.
Yeah, in such a short period of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a lot of good memories of your dad, your pop. There, Roy.
Oh, he's a good man, Peter. And as I say, a brilliant carpenter. I've heard so many reports, you know, like the home at Ascot, Kitchener Road, Ascot.
Yeah, that's one we didn't mention.
And the people who live in there love the place. And when Robbie and I went there a couple of years ago, we'll be going back, by the way. Fiona and her husband, the 2 boys were at Church of England Grammar School at the time. They made us so welcome, and the way they spoke about the carpentry in the house. The husband was owned a building yard in Brisbane, so he's well into timber, and he just went around the home showing the beautiful timber work that Dad had done, and so proud of it. And what they did with that house is, as you appreciate, they shifted it back from Kitchener Road about 40 or 50 metres, and now they own the whole property from the parallel road to Kitchener Road. And between the home and Kitchener Road now, they've got the most magnificent swimming pool and tennis court. And be worth, anyway, it would be worth a lot of money.
Well, it's a very upmarket area to start with, isn't it? So, yeah.
But the person, if I could just make mention, Peter, of Lucy Crowe.
Now, who's Lucy?
She's the one that when Robbie and I were trying to find the house, I couldn't picture it because I thought I knew where it was, but when it had been shifted back, 60, 70 metres, I sort of had some doubt. But we called into this home, and Lucy was, Pete, she couldn't get on the phone quick enough to ring different people, and we knew immediately where to go and everything. And
so that's the young mother of the kids.
The young
mother
of the
yard.
3 beautiful children, Pete. Yeah, and I'm still in touch with her, and I'll certainly be seeing her again, as well as Fiona and at Dad's home. There's no way in the world I won't see them again. But Lucy was just unbelievable. How a young mother with a young child and other young children there could be so helpful to to absolute strangers. And Robbie warmed to her too.
It's amazing when you think of your pop, and he's left all these, remnants of his life, which are going to stand for a long time. Hey, when you look at the carpentry and the work of these houses, and that's his hands that have put that together.
Yeah. So, Pete, we never even mentioned Wynnum. He built so many homes in Wynnum, both Wynnum and Wynnum South, and a lot of them are still there. The Tingle Road ones are still there, and naturally 74 Glenora Street, where I was born, is still there, and I think it sold for something like, he built that in 1924, and it sold for something like 1.3 about 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Mm.
But they'd raised it a metre, but the home's still the same, but they'd raised it a metre to get a better view of Moreton Bay.
Yeah, yeah. And there's always beautiful breezes down that way, so they have a nice big deck with a view and breezes.
Yeah.
Living in luxury. Mm. Yeah. Well, we might wind the episode up there, Roy, and I really enjoyed learning more about your pop, and it's good to savour those memories. And I didn't know him, but I've got to know him a little better today, so that's fantastic. And we'll look forward to sharing more with you in the next episode. So just one last thought, go Bulldogs.
I'll agree with you there, Pete. And look, thanks for bringing back so many happy memories to me too about my lovely, lovely family, Peter.
No worries. See you next time, Dad.
Bye-bye for now.